We are going to talk about overall police boss in Kenya. Since the day Kenya acquired independence, 12th December 1963, to the day of shooting, the overall police boss. And also, I want to tell you that the rank and naming of the overall police boss in Kenya has changed since 1963, or let's say 1960. Since 1960, the rank has been changing. At first, it was Commissioner of Police, then it became Inspector General, then it changed to Commissioner of Police, and right now it is Inspector General. So as we say, so and so was the boss, and this, we are going to talk about his title. And remember, we are talking about the overall police boss, overall police boss. Or do we say ultimate police boss? Now, this is what happened. In the 50s, there used to be one Inspector General of Police. He was the Inspector General of Police in East Africa. And then each of the three countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, each was headed by a commissioner of police. So the overall in charge of police in East Africa was Inspector General of the East African Police. Then we had the three commissioners of police. There was the commissioner of Kenya Police, there was the commissioner of Uganda Police, and there was the commissioner of Tanzania Police. When this country started gaining independence, there was no need for a Inspector General of East Africa. So, if you remember very well, Kenya is the last one to get independence. Tanzania got independence in 1961. So the Inspector General of Police for East Africa was in charge of Kenya and Uganda only. 1962, Uganda became independent, and so the Inspector General of East Africa was withdrawn. But then it was decided that they rename. Decided that they rename the position of Commissioner of Police in Kenya, Colony. They called it Inspector General of Police in Kenya. So when Sir Richard Catlin took over, he at first was the Commissioner of Police for Kenya Colony, working under the Inspector General of Police in East Africa. Later on, when Uganda attained independence, the East African Inspector General was withdrawn, and Catlin was renamed as the Inspector General of Kenya Police. Then shortly, Kenya attained independence. From the time 1962 to the time Kenya attained independence, for 1 year, he was the Inspector General of Kenya Police. But immediately Kenya attained independence, they reverted back to Commissioner of Police. So Richard Catlin, when he entered the Vigilance House, he was the Commissioner of Kenya Police and the East Africa Police Inspector General. Later on, just seated in the same chair, he became the Inspector General of Kenya Police, and later he became the Commissioner of Police, Kenya Police. He was there until 1964, the year that Kenya became a republic. That is when he handed over to Bernard Njenga Hinga. Bernard Njenga Hinga was the Inspector of Police between 1964 and 1978. Jomo Kenyatta was hands-off man. Whenever he handed you over a job and you are competent, he let you do it. But Arab Moi used to do what people are accusing Arab Ruto, that is micromanaging everything. So there is a time when Moi, 1978, summoned Hinga to State House. When they were in State House, Hinga, there was a heated argument. Hinga was telling Moi that you only give the political direction. I am competent and I have competent officers to do the job. I am competent and I have competent officers to do the job. So leave everything to me. It was a heated debate, argument, not a debate, an argument, whereby Moi, he just told him, kwa hivyo unajua kila kitu, basi enda ufanye kazi yako. When Hinga went to Vigilance House, he entered his office. He did not even look at the name tag. When he entered his office, he found the then head of GSU, Ben Gethi, occupying in his seat and putting on the same epaulets like him. Then he was shocked, and when he went to the door, he saw it was written, Ben Gethi, Commissioner of Police. That is how Hinga lost his job. Ben Gethi was the Commissioner of Police between 1978 and 1982. He was one of the casualties of 1982 coup attempt. It happened that even after the coup attempt, it was Gethi, the Commissioner of Police, who would give a regular brief. He would tell people, now the following people have been arrested in connection with the coup attempt. After giving that list, he was told, after people went out, is when he was sacked. Nobody knows exactly how he was sacked, but that time, Bernard Njinu was the head of the presidential escort. Bernard Njinu had stayed as a head of presidential escort for a long time. He took over from a Mzungu called Person. Person used to be the commandant of the presidential escort. So Njinu took over and he stayed there for quite a long time. So while he was still the head of presidential escort, there's a time he was called to the office of within State House. He was called to the office of the president. He went the room that Moi used as an office. If I say office of the president, people mistake it with a Rampe house. So he was taken to the room that Moi used as his office within State House. And when he went there, Moi asked him if he would want to be the commissioner of police or not. Njino said he wanted to be the commissioner of police. Then Moi took a phone, dialed wherever he dialed, and told whoever was the other side, because it's only Njino who had it. Njino heard him telling the other person on the other side that Gethi akifika Kamiti uniambie. And that is how Njino became the commissioner of police. As I've said, Kathleen reverted back to the rank of commissioner, and commissioner was taken by Hinga, Gethi, and now Bernard Njino. Njino was a commissioner between 82 and 1988. In 1988, Njino retired on age grounds. He retired on age grounds, clean discharge. And then his place was taken by Philip Mule Kilonzo. It was taken over by Philip Mule Kilonzo. That was in January 1988. Philip Mule Kilonzo was the commissioner of police between 1988 and 1993, when he retired on age ground. He took over in 1988 when I was in Northeastern. And I remember a lot of people in Northeastern were happy about it because they said he really liked Northeastern and he used to mind about Northeastern. So from there, he Kilonzo retired in 1993 on medical, not medical, on age ground. His age, he had reached retirement age. So we can say he retired honorably, although they followed him and killed him because of the Ouko case. He handed over in 1993 to Shadrach Kiruki. Shadrach Kiruki was there between 1993 and 1996. I could say that Kiruki was my teacher. Kiruki was my teacher during my inspector's course. Uh, he was the deputy commandant, 1988. The commandant was Mr. Kola, and he was deputized by Kiruki. So in 1993 to 1996, Kiruki was the commissioner of police. Kiruki left the job unceremoniously. Kiruki left the job unceremoniously. I think if you compare with another one called Japheth Koome, is that the way the police handle riots, you take responsibility for that. There was a demonstration at Kenyatta University whereby police used excessive force. That is how Kiruki retired before his age. Now, one thing that Kiruki will be remembered in the police service is that he introduced what do you call police. There used to be a Mzungu police chaplain, but he introduced something that called Christian Police Union or Association, CPA, Christian Police Association, whereby it was ordinary now for police now to have their a branch of the police that you'd find somebody being called. Like one time I went to a meeting whereby I was moving around with an SSP, and SSP was among the within the police Christian Police Association. He was a church elder, but then there was a corporal who was a bishop. He was a pastor. There was a corporal was a pastor. So when we entered that place, the corporal invited the SSP as as a senior police officer. So he told people, attention, saluted. Then from there, it became a church where the church elder, the what do you call this deacon? Yeah, the SSP was a deacon. So the deacon invited the pastor to preach during lunchtime. When the pastor preached for that, then the deacon thanked him and told people to clap for a good sermon by the pastor. And then when the SSP, who was a deacon, wanted to leave, the corporal told people to come to attention and saluted him as we walked out. So what I'm saying with so many words is that Kiruki is the one who introduced CPA, Christian Police Association. And I can say that that thing has really assisted the police, especially on issues of spiritual nourishment. Kiruki, as I said, in 1996, there was an incident where students at Kenyatta University went on strike and the police used excessive. So he was retired to take the blame. Then he handed over to Duncan Wachira. Duncan Wachira was the police commissioner between 1996 and 1988. Let me talk about Duncan Wachira a bit. Duncan Wachira was the PPO, provincial police officer in Western Province. He was the head of the police in Western Province. Later on, he was removed from the police and made a civilian in one of the ministries as deputy secretary. He met my father. He met land of my father, and he was contemplating resigning or retiring, early retirement, because he found that having been trained as a police officer, being made a deputy secretary in a ministry was a bit hectic to him. It was a bit hectic to him, so he felt that he should. But Dad told him, no, 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 just work until the last day. Then shortly after that, a letter came that he was being transferred from the ministry back to the police, but he was going to be the provincial police officer northeastern. They also met with my father and he said he was contemplating resigning, because how can you head Western province and then you go and head Northeastern? Northeastern, there was a time when the provincial police officer of Northeastern was of the same rank as deputy provincial police officer in Western. So when he was told of that, he wanted to resign, but my father still told him, "Didn't I tell you to persevere as a deputy secretary? Now you are back in uniform, even though somebody wants to embarrass you and make you resign." So he went to Wajir, and he didn't stay for long in not Wajir. He went to Northeastern, and he didn't stay for long in Northeastern when he was made the commissioner of police. He was the commissioner of police from 1996 to 1998, when he honorably retired on age ground. Then from there, the next police commissioner was Philemon Abong. Philemon Abong was the commissioner of police from 1998 to 2002. There is a change here. You'll find that when Philemon Abong took over, that is when the epaulets for the commissioner of police were changed. They were changed, whereby the middle epaulet was a military pattern star, but it was replaced by a lion badge. So instead of a cross spear, a military pattern star, and a cross sword, military pattern star, and lion badge, now he had a cross sword and two military pattern star, no, and two lion badges. That is Abong. He retired in 2002, but his retirement in 2002 was not on age ground. You see, that is now when Kibaki took over. This is when Kibaki took over, and they were not happy with. He used to give a lot. He used to be in charge of police officers who used to harass the opposition people. So there are those things that you just see the new boss coming, and so let me just ask for retirement. That is how he was. Now here was he handed over to Mr. Naseda, Eliud James Naseda. Naseda was my teacher, but I'll come to that. He handed over to Naseda the year 2002, and Naseda was there for 1 year to 2003. Slightly more than 1 year, because when he retired, he said that he had worked for 18 months without leave. Now, Naseda, and this was the trick. This was the trick, and that is the trick I would want to talk to. Like this lady, the lady who is the AP commander for Dagoretti South. I would advise her that in future she should not aspire to be the first lady to be the inspector general. No, she should aspire to be the because she has a PhD in I think project management or something, so she could be better off being the director of operation, National Police Service. This is the problem that politicians play on people. Uh, like Naseda, he was made the police commissioner to be the overall, but that was a trick in two ways. Naseda was a career detective. Naseda was a career detective, and even when he used to teach us in Kiganjo, he he was just a detective. He was talking about detective work. Some of the things that I talk and give correct projection is what he taught me. He was my law lecturer or what we call law instructor. And he's the best law instructor outside the law school. So the trick here was that, Kenya, we have always had Kikuyu, Luo, silent wars. So the trick here was to have a Kikuyu fellow, Dr. Kamau, Joseph Kamau. They wanted to make him the director of CID. They wanted to make him the director of CID. Yes, he had a PhD in criminology, but you see, there is a degree and then there is also what you learn through field work. Naseda was even a better director of CID than him. But you see, the Kikuyus played the Luos a trick by telling them that since Abong is a Luo and is retiring, let him be replaced by another Luo called Naseda. But Naseda was more into detective work, plainclothes work, than heading the police service. So that is how he could not even control the police the way it is. Because you cannot control the uniformed people the way you control detectives. Naseda taught me law, and there was even a time when my class instructor, uh, was absent because of preparing recruits for graduation. Naseda became our acting class instructor. So Naseda was there up to 2003 when there was this internal police struggle. Internal police struggle. If you look at these people, you'll find that the police bosses were being taken from each arm. And then there was tribalism within the police. Not tribalism that you become from one tribe, but because what can we call it? Formalism. You come from the same formation. So when like for example, when Gethi became the commissioner of police, the class that was the higher training course of that year, out of 25, 15 were from the GSU, and all other formations had to get 10. So they felt that in order to avoid the inward fighting between various formations, they were to bring in an independent outsider, who was Major General Hussein. Major General Hussein. But Hussein was there between 2004 and 2009. But Hussein's greatest undoing was that he was a military. When he came, he was a brigadier. But when he was within the police, he was promoted to Major General. The problem with him was, one, he was coming up with the military mentality. In the military mentality, somebody who is your senior, whatever he says, you do it. But in the police service, you find that especially people who are called gazetted officers, those whose whistle lineage is color, it has multicolors. These are the people whom, even if he's just a small person like an assistant superintendent, if anything is taken, he questions back and says, "Can you explain this to me?" But in the military, you see, he was now a major general. So he was thinking that the way the brigadiers in the army would treat him, he wanted also the police to do that. And there was a lady, Agnes Kagunda, Alice Kagunda, who was not happy that she had been bypassed. Remember, she was the deputy to Naseda. Now she was deputizing Major General, and she played around with him until it's a long story, but one of the jokes that she did was that she gave him a letter and he just read it. He said the following police officers had been sacked. He thought that he was still in the army and using the tactics of the army. So that is how it got bad. After he completed his term, he handed over to Matthews Iteere. Matthews Iteere, he spent most of his time in the GSU. He started off in 2009 up to 2012. I've seen many GSU bosses. They are very good bosses when they become overall. Matthews Iteere was very humble and was very good, and he did his work well. When it reached 2012, he did not want to apply for inspector generalship. So he just, when the new positions came in, he just retired with those. I want to say that my connection with him, I've never met him one-on-one, but in Kiganjo, there used to be 3 classrooms for the inspectorate. There used to be 1 class for gazetted officers, and then 3 classrooms for inspectorate, and so on and so forth. So what happened was, um, of the 3 classes, there was direct entry inspector for 1987, 1. Then there was direct entry inspector for 1987, 2, and direct entry inspector course 1987, 3. So 1 and 2 completed their course around November 1987. And so we occupied the facilities that they had been using, both living and also classrooms. So you find that that is why you find that direct entry number 3, whenever we met, they could say, "Don't you remember Matthews?" But we found they vacated so that we went there. That is my distant connection with Iteere. He was then replaced. No, he ended up with the rank of commissioner of police. With the new constitutional dispensation, it was now replaced with an inspector general with 3 deputies. 1 deputy was in charge of DCI, and the other one was in charge of AP, and another one was in charge of general duties, or what you can call Kenya Police Service. But because the scope has widened, allow me just to talk of the overall, the Inspector General. Later on, maybe I'll talk about the DIGs. I'll talk about the 3 heads of. One time I'll talk about who headed the DCI throughout. I'll also talk about who headed the AP and who headed the general duties from that. But I'll talk of the overall Inspector General. In 2012, under the new constitutional dispensation, David Molu Kimayo took over between 2012 and 2014. He didn't. He resigned or something like that. This is a case where about he didn't perform well in his job. Then he was replaced by Joseph Boynet. He was replaced by Joseph Boynet. Joseph Boynet came from the NIS. A very short person. A manifestation, an indication that in the police, watoto ya wakubwa. He's related to a former ADC, and the former director of intelligence. That is how he joined as direct entry inspector. By the time he joined, his relative was the ADC to Moi. He was there from 11th March 2015 to March 2019. Boynet, there was a time Boynet joined the police in November 1984. November 1984. I applied to join that, but my father had some people whom he had no good intention. So my application letter was placed in a shelf until the interview had gone. If it would have gone, and I would have gone for the interview, most probably we'd have been classmates with Boynet. Boynet, being tiny as he is, he's one of the best performing uh, police bosses, and he was the 2nd Inspector General of Police. Then when he completed his term, he went back to the NIS. He himself handpicked and did a lot of groundwork, and he's the one who railroad Hilary Mutyambai to be the Inspector General. Hilary Mutyambai was the Inspector General between 8th April 2019 to 29th September 2022. Hilary Mutyambai is one of the worst performing police bosses, even though he has an intelligence background. But I can say that if you look at the police bosses from Hinga to todate, you'll find that NIS and GSU produces some of the best police bosses, but Mutiambai gives us a bad mark. Mutiambai left in the 2022 in September after Ruto became the president. You know, his relationship with the with the with the Kutangatanga team was not good. So he conveniently became sick. He conveniently became sick upon Ruto taking over. So by then Koome, Japheth Koome was the commandant Kiganjo. But and Koome, it was I think somewhere in between they have changed the constitution, because when not the constitution, the National Police Service Act, because when we started the new constitution, it was that for one to be the inspector general, people had to apply. There's even a video I recorded recently where I said even non-police officers can be inspector general. So there, if you have those qualifications and there's a vacancy there, you can apply. But in this case, somewhere along the road, I don't know where, it has been said that the constitution has been, the National Police Service Act has been changed to an extent that it is the president who proposes and the inspector general is confirmed by parliament. Japheth Koome had to take political responsibility for the actions of the Gen Z. So he was the inspector general between 11th November 2022 and 12th July 2024. He had to take responsibility for police excessive force during the Gen Z. He has been replaced by Douglas Kanja, who took over from 12th September 2024 and is there to date. Douglas Kanja, Kiruki Kanja, is a career GSU person. And if we have to look at that list, you'll find that, for example, the first African police boss was Hinga. Hinga was an NIS person. He did well. Gethi, 50-50. When you come to Kiruki was a CID man. So you find that if you look at the CID people, like Kiruki and Naseda, they performed poorly. But if you look at the people, apart from Mutiambai, all the people from NIS who headed the police were very good. And so also was the GSU people, like Kiruki, Douglas Kanja Kiruki is a GSU person. They did well. Who are the worst performers? The worst performers were CID people. CID people, by CID I say, look at who are the CID people I can say. We can start with Duncan, not Duncan Washira, Kiruki. Kiruki was a CID man. Look at Naseda was a CID man. So you find that CID people they do their work below par, but GSU and intelligence were very, very good. Thank you.